Hey, so hi folks, welcome to the Goldcast number 7. I'm here today with Jonathan Boyd. He is an investment professional with more than 10 years of experience, and he is the Global Business Development Manager at Aurus Technologies. Hope I pronounced that right. So I guess, Jonathan, I guess you want to tell us a little bit of your background and the background of Aurus, how that all got started.
Yeah, good. Thanks, Matt. And pleasure to be with you, today, and your listeners. A little bit about myself, my background, just briefly. I won't get too much into that, but I was, in the sort of traditional finance side of things, financial advisory for high net worth clients. So I had private clients who I advised on their offshore portfolios. I'm South African, and I now live in the Netherlands. I joined Aurus because I moved from the one side of traditional finance to what I believe to be the future of finance. I think we'll find some sort of common ground in the middle at some point. With all the regulation changes going on in that, but so I've moved from that side now to the digital finance and find myself with Aurus Technologies. We are very simply a software company or technology company that has built and provides an open source blockchain protocol to tokenize assets. So we're in the business of tokenizing assets, tokenization as a solution, if I may. And we have a very strong team with a background in finance, from fixed income to myself on the private advisory side. So MD, who has very strong history in precious metals, so it was only natural for us to start providing this solution to the gold industry. Started with our first native token being Aurus Gold. But as I mentioned, we can actually tokenize anything, and there's some exciting developments coming up shortly.
Nice, yeah. So I guess you're hinting that there might be some more tokens being minted. So what is the process of tokenizing gold on Aurus? How does that work, and how do people trust that it's like decentralized and they own the gold?
Yeah, I think there's a couple key points there. Is trust number one in any transaction, right? Whether you're buying a loaf of bread to a kilogram of gold, there's no difference there's a little difference, but let's be honest, you always want trust, and right. That's so key. The second point, and I'll touch on that now, and the second point is decentralization. So, creating a gold token there's nothing really sexy about it. It's not a new idea, maybe a new concept to many, but if you're in the industry, you realize it's not the craziest out there idea. However, how we are different at Aurus is we've looked at this and said we do not want to be in a position which could lead to manipulation. So from a centralized point of view. Now, as you know, blockchain, and I'm sure your listeners, but blockchain is all about decentralization, and we really focus on differentiating ourselves from our competitors in that majority of gold-backed projects out there, or gold-backed tokens, run through a centralized process. So control the minting and the storage, and it's all centralized for lack of a better explanation. Where we are independent of that, or as technologies, as an organization, does not get involved in the minting process. Our ecosystem is made up of a few key partners. So the gold distributors, gold brokers, refineries, if you want to call them and lump them together as gold providers. And you've got the vaulting partners, and the gold distributors and the gold providers will actually independently tap into the Aurus protocol and mint those tokens. That gold will be stored in wherever is closest to them in our network of partner vaults, and we make sure that it's audited, it's insured, it's stored in those vaults, and there's a regular audit report. So each identification number of each gold bar is linked to the tokens that are minted as a result of the tokenization process, and that's available on the website. And we want to give our clients, that clarity to see that gold is actually, stored in a vault somewhere linked to the tokens that they now own in their digital wallets. So a couple of points there, I think, to summarize is we focus on decentralization because that provides longevity and less manipulation and more trust. And yeah, our distributors would mint those tokens independently, and we just oversee making sure that the contracts are in place with the vaults, making sure that we have proper contracts in place with our distributors, with our partners. We ensure that the gold is of a particular standard, and that is LBMA approved. It's 4.9 proof gold. So ensuring that these standards are upheld. And that is our role in the system. But again, I stress we are independent of the minting process.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like you said, it's very different from a lot of other gold-backed stablecoins. Yeah, so why did you guys, I guess, choose blockchain for that? Why didn't you guys, a lot of people, they might say, why didn't you use a centralized database? Just kind of, keep publish audit reports. Why did you specifically think that blockchain was necessary for that application?
It's a revolutionary technology, and the nature of the distributed ledger is one that leads to permissionless in a lot of cases and trustless transactions where it's there for everyone to see. Okay, maybe you're not going to be able to identify exactly who owns that specific wallet, but I can see the transactions there. That's the beauty of it. There's no fudging the books here, and you need full. It's impossible to amend. There's that small fraction in there. You're not going to get full consensus to change the ledger. So it's a great breakthrough in technology. So why wouldn't we leverage that to our advantage? And I think specifically with regards to precious metals, it's a game changer in terms of ensuring provenance. And again, that word trust comes up. Do I trust that gold is that quality, is in that vault you tell me it's in? It is insured and it is audited and it's still there. And blockchain technology allows us to do that and to provide clarity to our clients and our users, make the system a lot stronger.
And it's again, really interesting way of phrasing it.
Yeah, and I mean why not? Because if you're going to go through a centralized process again, you're just going to be repeating, how the system already, functions. So my personal opinion is that, we're soon, the next 10 years, everything's going to be, most things of value are going to be tokenized, fractional ownership in some cases, but, in a tokenized format to aid with, transacting, smoothly and efficiently and seamlessly. Some people hate this word, but democratizing ownership of a lot of assets for people who can't afford to buy the whole thing, but maybe a fraction of it, and really improve lives that way. And we see that we are able, by allowing people to buy a gram of gold at a time, because each Aurus gold token is equivalent to 1 gram of LBMA 4.9 gold. So great, a lot of people can afford, $60. And accumulate that way on a regular basis. Not many can afford maybe what a minimum purchase is into an ETF, some at thousands of dollars. And even so, introducing crypto technology to the gold space, you can take that gram and further divide it by, a number of decimal places, 18 in this point, and even further fractionalize your accumulation of it and ownership of it, and make it feasible to use for transactions and for payment settlements, for smaller amounts, which has been an argument against things like some other crypto assets out there, Bitcoin being one of those too. But yeah, there's a lot of benefits to it.
Yeah, I totally agree with the idea that blockchain can basically help bring a lot more retail people into gold, because a lot of people don't even know that you can buy gold, like in terms of the metal. at least young people in this country.
Yeah.
And I think when it's phrased in more of like a digital app or like a digital ecosystem, it becomes a little bit easier for them to start off with. I'm curious, because you guys obviously deal with traditional finance people and traditional investors, how is their reception to the concept of having the gold tracked on the blockchain? How has that kind of changed over time? And well, I guess what was their reception when you guys were first pitching it, and how has it evolved as the industry has grown?
It's every day we're educating people, and even though Satoshi's white paper came out, was it 2008-9, really the launch of Bitcoin, and along with that blockchain technology, right, which was open source and replicated, and that's how the crypto industry has evolved. So 10 years old, call it 10, 11 years old. It's not a long time, and every day is education. So when speaking to these sort of old kind of let's say industry, it's been around for thousands of years, as a store of value, and you got to start from ground level a lot of the time, and and really explain the basics of how blockchain works, and digital wallets, and gas fees, and all sorts of things. So I mean, it's an ongoing process, and we get better at what we do by simplifying these things for our partners. And I think with the adoption of a lot of other digital assets and specifically blockchain related crypto assets over the past few years, there's a lot more content out there. There's a lot more people speaking about it. So it makes our job a little bit easier from an awareness point of view, but it's very important for us to educate. And, like anyone in this space, if you want adoption, we've got a responsibility, which is, to educate those who we want to adopt. But yeah, it gets easier, but it's an ongoing process. And, even we learn every day, right? Because, the industry is developing and transforming, at a rapid pace. So we've really got to be on top of things.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's interesting you mentioned earlier the sort of younger crowd, and it's definitely something where we can see an opportunity and a demand for a new digital product. We're all used to operating on one of these, so it's quite easy for us to go, okay, cool, I'm going to buy something on my app or my trading app, or I know what a wallet is, and I can transfer funds quite easily. So, but you're right, not a lot of people know that you can even buy gold as an asset, or what it really means. And to me, I look at the situation in the world, and and Aurus as well, and you say, if we can bring that to the masses, and allow them to accumulate, micro accumulate or accumulate in small amounts on a regular basis, that can change your life. And if we take a step back from everything and look at from a macro level, as I mentioned earlier, with all the money printing going on, and impending inflation, God forbid, but if the writing's on the wall, gold is going to at least preserve the value of your savings, right? A lot of people are used to saving in fiat. So how much money did you save this month? Oh, I saved $100, $200. Okay, but if you keep it in dollars, how much is that $100 going to be worth next year? Or what can I buy next year with that $100 that I could buy today? It's, with the current situation, probably going to be about 20 to 25% less. And I think that the sooner people grasp, what inflation does to your savings, the quicker they're going to see that saving is number one. But number two is, what do I save in? Save in something like gold, or silver for that matter, which we are actually going to be, we're launching at the moment as well, is allowing the retail market and other markets to to save in silver, buy silver, earn it digitally, in the same format as we do currently with Aurus Gold, and platinum to follow down the line, and maybe some other metals as well. As I said, we tokenize assets, so options are there's a lot of options out there.
Yeah, great points. So what are some other problems, I guess, that you think that blockchain technology can help address in I guess the metals market, besides what you guys are doing at Aurus?
I think, having been quite an avid follower and very interested, in cryptocurrencies, and I think Bitcoin was a start for a lot of people, and they've maybe diversified in the last few years, but my brain runs at 100 miles an hour sometimes, and thinking of the potentials, and one of the other solutions potentially could be, I think these days with the technology that's available, I think the potential is only limited by your imagination, and as much as you can imagine is possible is what is achievable, nowadays. But to break it down, I think property industry is going to be massively shaken up. Think about middlemen that you can cut out, right? Centralization ultimately means utilizing middlemen, and think of a central bank, right? They are a centralized institution, and every transaction needs to go through them, be approved by them, and then go off to the other party. That might go through another third party to actually get to its final destination. Decentralization or blockchain technology says, right, I'm going to be sending this peer-to-peer, from wallet to wallet. There's no middleman there. So if you think about transferring of assets and ownership of assets, you're paying ridiculous notary fees or, legal transfer fees in property. And if you can, tokenize, whether it be fractional share in commercial property or tokenizing of physical property, residential property, you completely cut out the middleman there in terms of, with smart contracts. That's another area. I think, as you mentioned earlier, NFTs is something very interesting. It's unique. It's some digital art, right? In a lot of ways, and people place value on that, and that's also key. There's what do people place value on? So the options and the opportunities are only restricted by your imagination, and if enough people place value on something that you create, you've got a market, which is so exciting about where we're at right now.
Yeah, the NFT market right now is crazy. Actually, I saw there was a Wall Street Bets art piece the other day that went for like $40,000 worth of Ethereum. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think right now it needs a couple of years to mature until that can scale to the mainstream. But yeah, it's definitely going to happen. I think a lot of people are interested in that area.
Yeah. I come from South Africa, so just to touch on that again, man, is there's so much inequality there, and it's obviously developing economy.
Right.
I live in Europe, you live in the US. We're in the developed world, and there's so much room for disruption and improvement of people's lives on a basic fundamental level. And so many people are unbanked. So this can provide them with, I think blockchain technology or, access to save in something like gold. Amazing, from a remittance point of view. A lot of people send money from, let's say, for example, South Africa to Malawi, to Zimbabwe, to Nigeria, to back to Europe, depending on where the family is in that, that's a fact of life there. And, companies like, TransferWise is a good one, I think, but the older ones like your Western Unions and that, some of the fees they charge are criminal, from like 10 to 30%. And, something like this, where you can pay, 0.15% to send gold, and the value of gold, from one country to another, seamlessly and, in an instant is amazing and will change a lot of people's lives. And, that's really why one of the big whys as to what we do is, we want to help as many people improve their lives and get access to, assets previously unknown of or restricted to, that top echelon, and that's so important for us. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great mission. And I think that's kind of maybe one of the biggest things. It's rooms for growth in this industry, frankly. Because, I mean, just the amount of people that I talk to that just don't know anything about this. And they might even have a Robinhood account. Some of them might even be trading cryptocurrencies at this point. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's more people trading crypto than even understand that you can, own gold or silver. So I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but, I think people should have access to everything, not just one option. And sometimes, like, the stock market could be up, and maybe it's not the best time to get in. But if all they have access to is Robinhood, then that's all they're going to use.
True, right? And you don't know what you don't know. But the financial advisor in me says it's all good to be bullish on certain things, but diversify your risk,
right.
And spread it across a few things. Have a hedge. And what does a hedge mean? It means having a position that's not correlated to the other. It's uncorrelated. So you've almost got a seesaw effect, right? And if you can imagine that, it's providing protection, because we don't know everything. We don't know what the future holds exactly. We can form an idea, and that allows us to form a basis for investment decisions or savings decisions or what assets I'd buy or don't buy. But we don't know everything, and hence why it's good to, as you say, and I agree with you, spread it out a little bit. Have a little bit in, your precious metals, your commodities, your crypto, from your big caps to your small to your mediums, across different protocols. But then also have some of the traditional assets too, and always, always diversify things. Some people will completely agree with me, and they probably now in this crypto bull run, we see each other going, "No, man, you're crazy. We're just all in on some crazy DeFi token." But that's fine, and people will also learn their lessons, though. And it's exciting nonetheless.
Yeah. Totally agreed.
Yeah.
I guess going back to your point earlier about kind of inflation driving this adoption, and just like when inflation in terms of like consumer staples becomes like extremely obvious to the average person, which it should be by now, but even if it becomes even more obvious, we do see like just 20% inflation. I think we actually had in the US during like the panic phase of the lockdown, we had some extreme inflation temporarily, but that was just like a lack of supply of some of the products. But
yeah,
if it goes back to something like that, let's say, in a year or two, just like obviously, hopefully not, but if it does, do you think that alone would be do you think that would be the catalyst to kind of drive people towards precious metals? And what do you think it's mostly, let me rephrase the question, sorry. Do you think it's mostly a lack of awareness of inflation? People are just happy putting their dollars in their bank account, or do you think it's more there's a lack of systems that allow them to invest in precious metals and other things that are kind of, less like, gambling on DeFi projects, like you said, but more like just storing their money passively while they would otherwise have it in the bank account losing value?
I think it's probably a mix. It's a good question, but I think it's probably a mix of the above. Also, ability to save. People are just living paycheck to paycheck now. They haven't been earning for how long? Whether they're a one-income household, they were a dual-income household. People are on tough times, so they actually don't even have. It doesn't matter whether you give them the option to save in gold or not; they can't even save, right? So that's a big part of the population. So unfortunately, the inflation wave is going to hit them whether they like it or not. But I also agree with the fact that I don't think there are enough on-ramps to allow people to easily buy or save, in small amounts, for instance, precious metals like gold or silver. And thirdly, again, we come back, to the beginning of our conversation, is education. Educating people on basic financial planning principles or, market principles like inflation, which is pretty much government theft of your spending power. And the quicker people realize that and can also then be educated on how gold is a store of value and how it has maintained its value over thousands of years and was the only successful backing as a monetary system, in history. All fiat systems have survived for a while, but all tend to zero. That's the nature of the beast. So yeah, I think to not be too convoluted there is, I think education, quicker people understand that, doing nothing is going to erode their savings in dollars if they can save. What are our options? Well, you can save in something, like gold or other precious metals, if you can get access to it, which is the third point. Are there enough on and off ramps? Well, blockchain and crypto technology now allow that. So, I think people need to, do some research and see what options are available. For instance, go and have a look at our, Aurus.io website, AURUS.io. You can go and read some cool material there. You can get a card, which is a cold wallet, plus some AWG, which is our native token, or at least a token minted by our distributor partners around the world. It trades on Whitebit Exchange, on CBX for US residents. They can get access there. These kinds of things, and it's not that difficult. Don't be scared of it. Don't be scared of crypto, because it's going to be part of our lives for the future. Just open an account and see how things work. And you can access these assets now. It's possible. This is the beginning.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of interest right now with this whole GameStop situation and all of this craziness going on, but I think I think there's more long-term opportunities there with I mean, everybody, even people that are, I've seen a lot of people that could use some of these spending apps and these saving apps, and they don't use them, but I think everybody should try to save a little bit more money. And maybe one of the reasons they don't is because it's in fiat. I don't know, but I think that just products like this that are going to make it easier for people to buy smaller amounts is going to be game changing. And it's just going to help a lot of people that would otherwise just have some paper savings in the bank that would be just depreciating every year.
Yeah, completely. I mean, we look at that, and we're also making it. Part of our roadmap is, we've got a listing coming up, in the UK with one of the biggest exchanges there, where we're integrating into our app, in-app purchasing and regular DCA, set and forget purchases, on a monthly basis. We can save 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, $100 a month, and it'll just do it for you, do the hard work for you, dollar cost average your position in. So we see this, we see that it's needed, and we just want to make it as easy as possible for people. So there's some things to expect from Aurus as well, in the next couple of months.
Oh yeah, that's really interesting. That'll be interesting to watch. Well, I'm out of questions, but that was really insightful, Jonathan. I appreciate you coming on.
Pleasure, man.
A lot of deep thinking today.